ESPN Northwest Florida.
There's no need to fear.
The Underdogs are here. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
What time is it?
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome in. What's going on? Panama City, Pensacola, man. Northwest Florida, how we doing? Welcome in. It's Friday, man. Are you excited, old school?
I am, man.
That is good. We've got another big weekend in college sports. Right. Then next weekend, old school, it's rivalry weekend. I guess you'll get some rivalry games in this week. Not any big ones, though. Oregon, Utah State, not really a rivalry, but the premier matchup in the Pac-12, and we're going to get more than likely two of those battles in the next 3 weeks. Hey, give us a call or text on the Rib Crib hotline, 850-215-6290. We're on the radio 104.3. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and with our TV partner in Pensacola, blabtv.com. Old school is twitching if you're watching on the visuals. Be sure to like and share the Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download the new app and register 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And if you're an Android user and you're having problems with the app, uninstall the app and reinstall it. And there's also a little thing that you can adjust in the settings, maybe even on install, to have it auto update itself, and tick that box off, and you shouldn't have any problems with the app. But if you're an Android user, you're having problems with it, uninstall it, reinstall it. Real quick fix there, and you'll be up to date with everything going on with 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. And trivia brought to you today by Merchant Management Group. If you're a business owner, you got to listen here. How much did you pay in credit card processing fees this last season?
Too much.
If you want to eliminate those fees, if you paid anything, it's too much. If you want to eliminate those fees, then give our friends over at Merchant Management Group a call at 850-747-0664. They're located in downtown Panama City and will get you taken care of. The question for today is, who has the most passing yards in a single game for the Kansas City Chiefs? Who has the most passing yards in a single game for the Kansas City Chiefs? I won't give the answer away today because I've got it on a separate line. So give us a holler on the Rib Crib hotline, 850-215-6290. It's Fan Friday. We've got Caveman Rick on the camera today. Old School's in the building. I'm David Hayes, and on the other side, we've got Tyler Bishop in the building representing his Georgia Bulldogs, man. What a day. What's going on, Tyler?
What's going on, guys? Pleasure to be here, especially with the season going as well as it's going for me. Man, it's been a ride so far.
Dude, not even in college football, but on the NFL side of things, you're a Bengals fan. And
yeah, they were in the number one in the AFC there for a week
for
or
a
two,
little bit.
They choked against the Jets. We won't go in there, but, you know.
Well, the current number one team in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans, also choked against the Jets. So maybe it's a common denominator. The Cleveland Guardians got their launch started today with a bang, or a crash, if you will. Their store sign fell down to the ground and crashed into pieces. Probably about 4 hours into being open today. I don't think anyone was hurt, so there you go. But an ominous sign of things to come for the Cleveland Guardians.
Should have changed the name.
Definitely a bad omen.
Yeah, they should have just changed the name.
It's like the Curse of the Bambino, but worse, right?
Yeah, it is. That's definitely not what you want to have happen, especially when you're trying to make a little money by selling your merchandise, your brand new merchandise that got pushed off for a week because you had a battle with a roller derby team. Cam Newton making his first start in return to the Carolina Panthers versus the Washington football team. How about this, though, going up against his former coach, Cam Newton, Ron Rivera? Who do you think's got the edge here?
Man, I guess it's got to be Cam, right? I mean, it's the revenge factor. I mean, you know, Rivera was fired, but, you know, it's a whole different thing. I think more personally at that point. But, I mean, people tell you, you know, the NFL is the greatest soap opera there is, right? You couldn't make this up on a TV show and people believe it would actually happen, right? You know, left, came back, now he gets to face his former coach in his first start. He had, two touchdowns and like 3 completions and 2 runs or something like that last weekend. We'll see what he got, you know, his job taken from him from a rival quarterback, you know, Auburn versus Alabama. Like, the whole thing is just, it's TV gold, but it's real life. You know?
It's real life.
Crazy.
I'm excited for it. What do you think we're going to see from this game, old school?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see Cam running around a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that he knows the playbook well enough to really, execute a bunch of different plays. But I just think that they're going to rely on him to drop back, and if he doesn't see something, he's going to take off running. His legs are certainly fresh. He hadn't played all year till last week, so it'll be fun to see him back. It'll be fun to see him taking on Ron Rivera.
Not having Chase Young this week, it's unfortunate, but if you're Cam Newton, that's best case scenario, right? Not having to play him week 1 or your first game back, that's a big thing.
I was definitely kind of curious about them making him full-time starter here in his second week with the team, just because P.J. Walker and when Cam Newton would come in, it kind of changes the whole dynamic of the offense, so you can keep the defense on their toes and guessing. But I guess you'll keep them guessing either way with Cam here, because you don't know, is he going to be throwing, is he going to be running a whole lot in this game? We'll see, but I think everything that Tyler said, man, the storylines surrounding this football game is going to make for great TV. You got any thoughts on this, Caveman?
I think that Cam Newton might be in some trouble. Ron Rivera could be definitely his kryptonite, this Superman. Being the previous coach of the guy, I'm sure he knows his weaknesses. He knows, what he's really well at and really, what he's not so well at. So if he's got some discrepancies that he knows, I'm sure he'll try to exploit those.
All right, and bad news here for the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears linebacker Khalil Mack is out for the season with season-ending foot surgery. He's headed to injury reserve, but they will not have Khalil Mack for the rest of the season. When was the last time that he was actually on the field with the Bears, though? Was it? It's been a couple of weeks that he's been dealing with injuries, hasn't it?
I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah, so they don't have him for the rest of the year, and we'll see what that happens. But a lot of other things happening in the world of the NFL dealing with injuries or coming back from injuries. The Cleveland Browns are having running back Nick Chubb coming back from the reserve COVID-19 list. How about Amari Cooper going to the COVID-19 list ahead of a big game where they would need all their wide receivers going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are coming off of a big win against the Las Vegas Raiders. You got Alvin Kamara out for 2 weeks in a row now, and this is up against the Philadelphia Eagles team. Caveman Rick, you can attest to this, that are playing some pretty good football right now.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to run the ball, probably even with Latavius Murray. And the Eagles got a really good secondary, like top 4, I believe, last time I checked. Darius Slay's been a big pickup for the Eagles. So, yeah, lack of Kamara and then having to maybe chuck the ball more against a team that has a good secondary. The Eagles' defense could pull off a big one here.
Are you really counting on Trevor Siemian to be the guy who you want to lead against a defense like that? I mean, it's no disrespect to the guy's an NFL caliber, but I mean, when you're talking NFL caliber quarterbacks, there's a reason why he was third string on the Saints going.
They can still throw some packages out there and use Taysom Hill, the Swiss Army knife, and see what he can do.
Whenever they have both of them on the field, or when Taysom Hill comes out, for a high percentage is going to be a wildcat type play, so it's pretty much breaks it down left, right, or up the middle. Which way is he going?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the Cleveland Browns.
Barrett says Taysom Hill's out for this game, so.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow. Well, then you go, too.
Yeah,
that's going to be a lot tougher.
Bet the under on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever those points are, I would definitely go on the under.
It was just interesting to me that Cleveland Browns, in his press conference, their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, said he's never been as beat up as he is now. And then he comes out today and says, I'm starting. I don't know. I mean, I realize they're trying to make the playoffs, but, I mean, I don't know. If he's that hurt, maybe you're better off to
It's like, are you come out saying that because you want the attention for it, or is it like, are you just trying to build an excuse
for the next contract because they're having to make a decision at the end of the season?
Oh, yeah, he's coming up on
are they going to stay with Baker Mayfield, or are they going to move off of this guy? And if he's injured and he's not playing, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to say, hey, we need to move off of him.
Yeah, but if he's injured and he plays poorly, then it makes it even easier than that for them to move off of him.
It may be true.
Well, on top of that, though, if you've got Nick Chubb coming back, Kareem Hunt's, I don't think they're quite yet getting closer. But if you got Nick Chubb coming back, and we saw how it was in his first game back from his last injury, where it was a little bit of a slow start, and then that next game he took off completely, and then he got COVID. But I wouldn't mind trotting out Casey. You're playing the Lions this week. Let Baker get healthy, and the Lions. Another one here, Jared Goff, doubtful, not practicing in the last 3 days. Jared Goff is doubtful. There's so many injuries happening with the Lions right now. Give Baker some time here and let him get healthy.
He might be playing for his job, too. I mean, he had a great season last year, but it's the Cleveland Browns again. If they start playing not so well. I mean, the fan base, are they going to be patient? Are they going to start hitting the panic button? Are they going to start screaming for,
I think
another
they already
new coach?
are in a
So-
sense.
I think
So if they're scrambling-
Stefanski, though, I don't think he's really. I mean, unless he just bombs the rest of the season, I don't think he's really got to worry too much about and playing a game with against the Lions with a hurt quarterback. That kind of buys you a little bit of a leeway as a coach. But I mean, I lean on that boy Nick Chubb. That's my boy. He's
Yeah.
that Georgia man. You know how he is. But no, I agree. That I mean, and even Ernest Johnson is coming out looking pretty good. So he's still got a pretty solid 1-2 punch.
I mean, you could
I love
probably
that
run
kid.
behind that offensive line that they
yeah,
got
right.
there, So, I mean, that's definitely going to help out anybody.
So what do you think the right situation is then for the Browns? Is moving on from Baker, or do you get? I mean, can you really give him another year? And here's my problem with it is the expectations for this Cleveland Browns team have been through the roof for the last 2 years. They had a decent run last year, but they started out pretty hot this year and have kind of fell off.
I think the issue is Baker's good enough you could do worse, but he's bad enough that you could definitely do better. And I mean, you're looking at the class coming out this year. If you're thinking a rookie,
Yeah.
who coming out this year are you definitely like this guy's gonna be better than Baker? Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh.
Can you really trust that?
Who these guys are you really going with?
No,
And, I mean,
come on, man.
What veterans?
Spencer
gonna be
Rattler, he's the answer.
Yeah, yeah, he's yeah, but
He doesn't even know how to respond.
sure
to yeah.
number one overall guy going into the season from what they said. But Barrett's man Spencer Rattler, we won't talk about that either. But I mean, who are you saying for sure? And then who's going to come available? Free agent wise, franchise quarterbacks don't come on the market unless you get a rare, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford type deal. So but do you want to commit $100 million to Baker Mayfield?
Would Deshaun Watson, if he, there's nothing going to happen with him this year, would he?
I don't even know if they have the trade, or draft capital to move anything around to get a
Oh
guy.
yeah,
like
that's
that,
true.
too.
Because
You
they've
have
been
to
moving
have
around
the.
a
If you're
lot.
Houston, do you
the
want three
pieces.
number ones over like 3 years? You kind of want it all up front to start that rebuild, kick-started.
Well,
That's what
Houston-
the Dolphins offered.
They're delusional. They're not going to get what they're asking for this guy, even if he didn't have the legal woes that he has. I think they were asking for a really steep price.
Well, and the longer that it goes without anything being done, which it's too late for anything to be done now because trade deadline's behind us. But
You have to start high.
doesn't his value start to drop in a sense without seeing him for
But everybody knows
17
he doesn't
games?
want to play for Houston, so how much leverage do they really have? We know he's not going to play for you, so
Right.
you're going to just sit on him and not – I mean, that's what the Bengals did with Carson Palmer back, and they end up giving, a second-round pick out of him. But
Some
he's
teams
not
have
gonna
done
play
that.
for
I mean, Barry Sanders tried to get out of Detroit, and they said no.
Yeah.
And his
He
option
retired,
was
though.
to sit or walk, and he walked. And same with Megatron.
Yeah. It's happened. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's, they don't have the leverage. So that's the thing, though, to your point. They're not going to get what they think they're going to get, and that's why they end up letting them sit. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
But I mean, again, I'm not trying to beat up on Baker Mayfield, but if
Okay, Mr.
He's
Texas.
already beat up enough.
but my point
He's
is,
the most beaten up he's ever been, he says.
but this is
That's what happens when you play
this
in the Big 12.
this is a good team. Cleveland has a good team, and why would you take a guy who's admittedly beat up and put him out there against the Lions, and everybody knows, okay, we're going to go hit him. If they just sat him for another week, they're playing the Lions. Then maybe they still have a chance to have a good end of the season and make the playoffs, and then maybe they get some kind of Flacco kind of thing happen, where he gets on a hot streak, but to put him out there this week,
Flacco hot streak.
He bet on
I mean,
himself
He
He
did
bet
it.
on himself and made him a lot
about
of
a
money.
dozen years ago, and it paid off.
So I mean, I just think it's just silliness that they're putting him back out there, or he's choosing to go back out.
Hey, say what you want about the Lions, but they're one of two teams in the NFC undefeated this month. So
I mean, they do have a tie under their belt.
I think they had a bye week and a tie, so they're undefeated in November. So you better watch out. They're on a streak.
They're on a streak. That's true.
Biting a lot of kneecaps.
If I'm the Browns, I do what old school says. I put Case Keenum in the game,
Yeah.
and then I hand the ball off to Nick Chubb 35 times and Dearness Johnson 20 times, and we run the ball 55 times in that game. And if we win by 3 or if we win by 10, right now the Browns don't need it's not college football where you got to prove by having an electric type game and keeping the other team from scoring at all. No, you just got to get the W. As what we've seen from the Steelers and them not being able to get the job done without Big Ben. But if the Lions don't have Jared Goff, I don't think that there's any chance for an upset. But how many games have we looked at this year and been like, oh, that team has no
Especially
chance?
last 2.5, 3 weeks, the upsets and everything. I mean, it's been insane.
It's been stupid, but it's been so much fun, especially for teams like even like ours, Bengals, I'm a Titans fan, Eagles fan. When those teams are winning and winning big in games that they have no business winning in, or that we thought they had no business in, it's a lot of fun. And I think that it's a lot of fun watching the fans of the higher tier teams get so upset about it, or like having Keyshawn. They're not a real 8-2 team. They're not a. Okay, well, tell me what they are then.
Hey,
Your record is what you say you are.
Exactly, man. All right, well, we're just getting rolling here on the Afternoon Underdogs today. Still playing trivia, 850-215-6290. Just tell me who has the most passing yards in a single game for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, partly to mostly clear skies, 45 to 52, light east winds. Saturday and Sunday looking pretty good. Low to mid 70s during the day, mostly sunny skies, a few scattered clouds. East-northeast wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy in the mid to upper 50s. Have a great and safe weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida. More
Auburn football heads to Columbia to go head-to-head with the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Intercepted by Jalen Simpson.
It really comes down to it's just a game of inches. You got to find the little things that are going to make the biggest difference.
Saturday with kickoff at 6 Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Bill Bird Kia would like to say thank you to our customers for the support of this year. We will continue to be your local community dealer. Stop by today and test drive a new Kia and see why we have the best overall buying experience anywhere. You can test drive your holiday adventure in a new 2022 Kia Sportage. Purchase a new 2022 Kia Sportage and get up to $750 cash back. Bill Bird Kia appreciates you and will treat you like family. Bill Bird Kia, the original home of the 20-year 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. You'll enjoy the way we do business.
Cashback offer from Kia America equal the purchase of a new 2022 Kia Sportage model and may not be combined with finance or lease offers from Kia Finance. Not all incentive programs are compatible. Limited time offer for well-qualified buyers. See dealer for complete program details. The 20-year 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/3/22.
Coram Steak and Egg, home of the world-famous Heavenly Hash, has been family-owned and operated since 1986. Open daily 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Coram Steak and Egg prides itself in offering fresh, never-frozen favorites at family-friendly prices. Come in and check out our daily lunch and dinner specials. Coram Steak and Egg at 804 South Tyndall Parkway, where you never leave hungry. Also available on DoorDash and Grubhub.
Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local. Text or call into the Slim Chicken Studio. 850-215-6290.
Always be sure to listen for the dial tone.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Sorry, bud. Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes, Old School, Caveman Rick, Tyler Bishop, all in the building. We've got Texas at West Virginia on the docket for 10:30 a.m. Saturday morning. Can't wait for it. Let's talk briefly about the Atlanta Falcons and their lunar eclipse last night. 25-0 there from the Patriots. Man.
What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all?
That you enjoyed watching that game so much last night?
I didn't watch it down. I did not watch one single down. This is how much I think of the Falcons. I watched Bridesmaids instead of that, instead of the game. That just tells you what I think.
This is kind of a funny movie, you know. A little bit of.
Haven't seen it. Give us a synopsis.
It wasn't that funny.
It wasn't that funny.
It wasn't that funny.
Now, if you remember, I think it was the first time I came on the show, I was talking about if Mac Jones ended up in a situation like New England, I think he could thrive a little bit. And guys looking like, potential offensive rookie of the year. I think it was a great marriage as far as, somebody coming for that Saban tree going into the Belichick family. And he loves him some Bama players and Georgia players. And, man, though, he's looked better than I thought he would with that principal walk he had on draft night. But
He's so I don't want to say it, but he reminds me of the guy that was there before him. I'm not talking about even on the field. I'm just talking about body type and kind of mannerisms.
All the quarterbacks they've had through there, Drew Bledsoe, Matt Castle had success. I mean, Jimmy G, they've had some guys, physically don't look like the most impressive guy, but they're very, they seem to be very quick with their reads, know where they're going. I think in that system, that seems to be more important than the physical prowess. Like Cam Newton went there. He didn't look the same.
Mm-hmm.
He was a big athletic guy, the most freakish talent they've had at quarterback there. And I mean, he wasn't the same, but you got a guy like Mac Jones comes in and just picks it up right away. I think it just shows that.
I just think Belichick's looking for, he's just yes men. He wants his people that can buy into his system, into his program, that are going to do what he says, when he wants, how he wants. When he says jump, it's how high. You want me to do 3 pirouettes when I'm up in the air at the same time?
Do they win ball games?
Hey,
that's what it comes down to. Well, I mean, there's other ways too. You win too, like banging on trash cans or taping other teams' walkthroughs and such. But yeah, okay.
Deflating footballs.
If you want to go there.
Oh, where's Boston team when you need? Yeah, allegedly.
Sorry, Boston.
Allegedly.
Tim, love you, man, but yeah.
So
facts are facts.
They got a big win. 3 quarterbacks for the Atlanta Falcons through an interception. Matt Ryan.
Is that a record?
That's got to be.
I was wondering about that last night, actually.
How many times do 3 quarterbacks play in a game, much less have a chance to throw an interception?
Exactly right.
And how many times do on back-to-back throws the interceptions come from 2 different quarterbacks? Rosen comes in the game, boom, pick 6.
We already knew Rosen wasn't so great, but now Franks, I think he's been exposed.
He's been exposed. You're always the guy who's sitting there saying, small sample, that doesn't count. But
it is a small sample.
He throws
size.
one throw, and it's like, that's it.
But I wasn't sold on him coming out of, from Florida anyways. Or actually, he left Florida. Where was it?
He went to Arkansas.
Arkansas, that's right, yeah.
He actually looked decent his senior year there at Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And, helped change some of that culture there. Pink's been doing a good job.
And the quarterback there now, I don't know why I'm drawing Jefferson. I was gonna call him Henderson. I don't know, but he kind of resembles body style Felipe Franks does, but he's a little bit more mobile.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good game between Alabama and Arkansas. Not necessarily coming down to the final score, but with the point spread of 20.5, could be interesting. But who knows? LSU took him to the brink. So as we were talking earlier to Tyler, he's a big Georgia fan. What are the chances here that the realistic chances for Georgia winning the title? I mean, they don't have anything left on the regular season schedule that's going to be a problem.
No, if we drop some between here and Atlanta, the SEC title game, then I don't even know what's going on in football anymore. I think clearly you're looking at it. Alabama's got the team to score on Georgia. At a good enough clip to put pressure on that offense. Ohio State's got that kind of offense. C.J. Stroud, those receivers, Chris Lavier, and the running back Henderson has been a freshman phenom out there. He's been fun to watch. But I think you get one of those two schools in there, and obviously 99% chance we'll have to go through Alabama and Atlanta and see. Depending on what that happens in that game, do we have to see them twice? I think outside of those 2 teams, I feel good about playing Oregon. Now that they've been scrappy, they've won. It's kind of like what you're talking about. They haven't been flashy doing it, but they've gone and won outside of that Stanford game. They went to the shoe and beat Ohio State week 2 or whatever it was. Cincinnati's the wild card. How are they going to look against elite competition? We had that Peach Bowl last year. You had the opt-out, so I'm not going to say that they didn't earn whatever. But
do you think Cincinnati sneaks in? Do you think they'll get in?
I think they're positioning themselves. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in Atlanta against Georgia and Alabama. Because right now, I don't know if Oregon wins out. They're a 3-point dog on the road this week against Utah. They're going to have to more than likely play Utah again in the Pac-12 title game. They've still got Oregon State that last game, and Oregon State's been up and down. They've lost to teams like Colorado, then snuck up and beaten a team like a Utah. I think they beat them earlier, and it was just like one of those teams you don't know what to expect. So I think if Oregon drops one, you're going to have Ohio State, assuming they win out. The
and they got a tough road too.
Yeah, they got Michigan and Michigan State the last 3 games or the last 2 games. But if not, if you're looking at the Big Ten title winner, the SEC title winner, then who are the last 2 if Oregon drops one? You're not going to put a 2-loss Oregon in there, I don't think, over an undefeated Cincinnati.
You shouldn't.
They're at 5. If Oregon drops one, I don't think anybody their play is ranked high enough to keep them in that top 4 with a loss. Does a Big 12 title if Oklahoma State or Oklahoma run the table? Do one of them sneak up in there? It's going to be interesting to see how it comes down. The committee gets a bad rep because they're the only poll out there that has to come out and answer for their decision.
Mm-hmm.
The AP doesn't. The coaches poll doesn't. They can do whatever they want. People complain about it, but whatever. They've got a face that people hate. And,
the Iowa AD or whatever.
Like, I feel bad for the guy because he's speaking on behalf of, 11 or 12 members, and, and he just gets lambasted every Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Like, this guy's
even if nothing changes in the top 7 like this week, nothing changed at all. It's like, boom.
He chose that job. It wasn't like you're appointed and like you have to do it. So I mean, he had to know that you're going to get that.
But
it comes with the territory.
But now I'm feeling good about my Dogs' chance. I put. It's one of those things. We'll see what happens. But that defense playing the way it is, man, it's fun to watch. They fly.
They are fun to watch.
It's a very, very experienced team. A lot of upperclassmen on both sides of the ball. I think it's not getting enough notoriety.
And so y'all, essentially, you got to get it. You don't have to, but you need to get it done this year because
it's one of those,
you'll lose a lot next year.
Well, yeah. Next year I don't think it's a legitimate possibility. It's one of those if you don't do it now with, the rest of college football looking relatively down. Bama lost to A&M. They struggled with LSU. They looked less than impressive at certain times. Obviously not full games. Ohio State lost to Oregon. They struggled with Nebraska at times. They struggled with Penn State at times. Only putting up 20-something points on offense. Got a defensive touchdown. So you got teams like that. Your usual juggernauts just really. Clemson's a 3-4 loss team.
3-loss team.
You don't have your usual juggernauts like you do. So it's like you've looked like the lone juggernaut. So if you can't put it away this year, it's makes you a little nervous going forward because especially being a Georgia fan, it's been 40-something years now. It's like, God, if it's not now, when is it going to be?
Do you think that there's a chance that Alabama could lose to Auburn and Arkansas, and Ole Miss ends up taking on Georgia in the?
Is there a chance? Sure. It's college football. Anything can happen. Is it a likely? I'd probably give it a 1% chance.
1%.
If I was betting on it, would have to be really high stakes. I think Arkansas will keep it close for a little bit, and I think if Auburn had Bo Nix.
There'd be a totally different story.
Weird stuff happens in Jordan-Hare. How many times we've seen over the years between the Georgia and Iron Bowl games there. You get the kick six and the Hail Mary and the the Cam Newton all those types of games. Like rivalry games make college football what it is. But I wouldn't be betting on it. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Who, in your opinion, is the best candidate for the LSU job?
Ooh, I don't see. My brother and I went up to Knoxville last weekend for the Georgia-Tennessee game, and that was a good time. Open Rocky Top, and it was the first time we'd seen Georgia go undefeated in SEC play. So we we got to make the trip.
Yeah, that's cool.
We were listening to some of the shows on the way back, and they were talking about it. I argue LSU is the best job in the country. If you get the right guy in there, LSU, because of the way Louisiana talent stays home, it's probably the best job in the country. The best, I don't know. There's not a great coaching pool out there. You got a Lane Kiffin. Would he leave for that? But even that's if you hire Luke Fickell. How many times do we see a Tom Herman that Houston goes to Texas, can't perform? The Boise State guys really haven't done well when they've moved on. Are we going to see something like that? There's no Saban assistant this year that you're like, oh, I want that guy like we've had in the past with Kiffin and Sark and Kirby and Pruitt and some of those guys, and not even all those guys haven't panned out, but. They don't want Mullen, right? I had to throw that one out there.
Dan Mullen to LSU, dude.
Man.
Fans
would riot.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Schiano situation in Tennessee a few years back. If you see a guy like Lincoln Riley go there, he'd be fun, but he hasn't been able to put a defense on the field in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Even this year was supposed to be their year on defense. They've been average at that. I don't know.
You see so many LSU fans talking about, Lincoln Riley, we've offered him this or whatever, and it's like, why would Lincoln Riley even do that?
First off, sound like FSU fans from a few years ago.
It does sound like a lot of FSU fans.
Is it going to be Stoops? Is it like who's
Stoops?
The new
Is it
Urban Meyer? Who's the new name
Stoops
this today?
You call that here first?
Yeah, why not?
Maybe James Franklin, but he's still living off his Vanderbilt years.
They're still talking about him going to USC.
The guy's been, but kind of the same thing. He was at a smaller school, did well. He's gone to a bigger school. Hasn't really translated as far as the transcendence.
Somebody's eventually going to get Brent Venables from Clemson. I don't know. And this is the perfect time to leave Clemson if you're going to leave.
Yeah.
Right. They ain't doing so hot right now.
So somebody's got to get him.
Is that a move that really makes the needle move? He hasn't gotten
I don't know if
it
does for LSU. I don't know if it does for LSU.
Again, everybody's worried about making a needle move or sizzle or splash or some big electric name. What about just the right guy for the job?
I think
a guy that's going to come in with the right mindset, the right culture, going to change what needs to be changed, can recruit, not afraid to go out and recruit like a Dan Mullen or something like that, and just get the job done. Like Coach O, everybody laughed when he got the job, but he won a championship there,
I think Dave Aranda's the safe bet. He's a guy, he was there for LSU's championship run. He's done a really good job at Baylor. From what I've heard, he's kind of that no-nonsense guy who's going to come in and do his thing.
Anybody that gets the job, realistically, how long do they have?
Well, my thing
3 years before they're going to be criticized.
It doesn't matter what job you're going to.
You got to show progress. I think that's all it matters. It's not even necessarily a number of wins things. You got to show something. And I think that's what Norvell
without sliding back too.
Yeah, that's what Norvell struggled with this year at FSU. Great first game against Notre Dame, lost to Jacksonville State. The next week got blown out by what turned out to be a pretty good Wake Forest. The next week, and it showed like no progress. Now he's showing progress. They almost beat Clemson. They beat Miami. They've won a few games. Like, you got to show progress.
For as bad as what it looked in the beginning of the year after the Notre Dame game, because they were on a high after Notre Dame, and then it just went straight downhill. Let's get to the Rib Crib hotline. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, I was just going to say that I think a good fit for LSU would be Hugh Freeze coming out of Liberty, redeemed.
I like Hugh Freeze. I would like to see Hugh Freeze go somewhere.
Yeah, I've heard there's some issues. There's a reason why he can't come back to the SEC just yet for some of the things that happened at Ole Miss. I don't know that to be a fact, so I'm not going to say it is. But that's a reason why he's still at a place like Liberty and not somewhere else, from what I've heard.
A few more years.
I don't know if there's I don't know if he'll ever be necessarily welcome back in the SEC, and I don't know how much they can really do to stop that. I don't know how that works.
I guess the conference could overrule anything.
I don't know if they could really. Do they really have a role in coaching? I mean, I guess
they might.
There may be some kind of agreement there. I'm not well versed enough in that kind of stuff.
There's probably a book about this deep, and all kinds of statutes.
They'll be able to figure something out.
There.
Hey, caller, thank you so much for the call.
All right.
But yeah, that system with Louisiana athletes, though. I mean, he's putting up numbers at Liberty like that.
Could you imagine?
It'd be fun.
Get him a dual threat quarter. Hold on, old school. We got to go to a break, though. We're going to be right back with J.C. Shelton. What, bud? Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, you're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll be right back with J.C. Shelton talking more University of Georgia football.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Saturday on college football on ESPN Radio. The Texas Longhorns head to Morgantown to face the West Virginia Mountaineers. With 2 games left, both Texas and West Virginia need to win out to become bowl eligible.
Our preparation and our focus on West Virginia for this ball game, everybody's upset. Everybody feels the frustration in what has occurred.
Texas, West Virginia.
Coverage begins Saturday morning at 10:30.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Barbaritos has been committed to serving farm fresh food since February 20th, 2000. For starters, Barbaritos food is made with love, straight from the heart. Every morning we begin preparing our food from scratch, from chopping fresh tomatoes for sauces to mashing fresh avocados for guacamole. Barbaritos cares about food. From serving char-grilled grass-fed beef as well as hormone-free chicken breasts to the amazing tofu for our vegan friends. Farm fresh is more than just a motto. It's Barbaritos' mission.
Barbaritos. We make it fresh. You make it yours.
Are you ready for some football? So are the folks at That Boot Store. They have the latest in Western outfits, along with brand names like Wolverine, Timberland Pro, and many others, including Ariat and Old Western for kids. That Boot Store loves the Noles, the Gators, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and Joe's favorite, Roll Tide. That Boot Store, your team's favorite Western shop, next to Billboard Kia on 15th Street. Open Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your heart every day.
Are you concerned about safety when you travel? Emerald Coast Damsel specializes in self-protection. They offer a full line of safety products like men's and women's RFID wallets and concealed carry for purses, lifetime incidental replacement plan, and manufacturer's warranty on most items. Give the gift of self-protection and contact Michelle and Rick today, 850-358-2810, or visit their website at emeraldcoastdamsel.com. Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel and defense.
Hi, this is Coach James Hale, here to tell you about the best car wash on the beach. Blue Sky Express Car Wash. Number one, they're locally owned. You know Matt and his employees will do a great job. Number two, Blue Sky Car Wash recycles their water. Number three, they have the latest technology available. It does an incredible job on your vehicle. Blue Sky Express Car Wash on Back Beach Road is right near Home Depot. Tell them Coach Hale sent you.
From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge, we are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, live from the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're getting you covered for this weekend. And Georgia's got they don't got a big game this week, but it is Senior Day. Let's welcome in J.C. Shelton, part of UGA Football Live, which is part of the USA Today College Football Wire. Find him on Twitter. Hey, J.C., what's going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing today?
Hey, we are doing fantastic. Take us through Georgia's big win over Tennessee and what you took away from that game.
Yeah, so we got this chance to see Georgia and this dominant defense really take on the better offense that it's faced all season. I mean, Georgia faced an Arkansas offense that had done some great things headed into that matchup. Georgia, of course, was able to shut them out at home. But since then, we haven't seen Georgia face that high-powered offense, maybe other than a Florida team who is on the down when Georgia faced them in Jacksonville. But this Tennessee offense was different, right? They snapped it faster than anybody in the country. We talked about that last week. We talked about Hendon Hooker and how good he had been from the quarterback position. But we got a chance to see Georgia face this, right, and face this deep threat, and they answered. Tennessee was able to get the ball through the air, the ball moving. They got the benefit of the doubt of some questionable calls that first possession, but they were able to move the ball down the field and get that first score. And Georgia faced its first lead, its first deficit in the first quarter all season. They only trailed 11 plays headed into that game. So Georgia was in a different position, right? Tennessee led into the second quarter, right, 10-7. And then we saw Georgia dominate. We saw Georgia take over the game. We saw Georgia on offense, Stetson Bennett use his legs and that zone read is just so lethal to me, the way that Todd Monken, Georgia OC, is using Stetson Bennett, not only his arm, one of the more accurate deep field passers right now, but also just that threat of his legs, keeping that zone read and getting defenders and those linebackers biting. And then they just can't catch him when he hits that second level, and he does a good job of protecting his body. I think Stetson Bennett did a great job last week. We saw James Cook as another standout for me in this game. Absolutely went off the best game of his Georgia career, the senior running back, number 4. Everybody knows him, the younger brother of Dalvin Cook for the Vikings. But over 100 yards on the ground. He had 40 through the air, had 2 touchdowns on the ground, 1 in the air as well. So good game from him. But we saw, and the last thing, sorry to keep going here, but the offensive line for Georgia, we saw Warren Erickson had to deal with he was one of the starters that dealt with the flu. So he moved back from right guard and sat down. We had Xavier Truss come in for him. And we had at left tackle, we were missing Jamari Salyer, the preseason All-American. And he gave his spot to Broderick Jones. And we saw those 2 young guys come in, those freshmen, and really play well. And that's a good sign for Georgia because you always need depth on this offensive line. We've had some injuries lately, and the flu affected Warren Erickson as well. So good chance for him, Broderick Jones, and Xavier Truss to get in and get some playing time.
I agree with you. I did think Stetson played well, but I think he didn't play his best. There was a pass down the sidelines to Bowers, which Bowers made an amazing catch, but if the throw had been more accurate, it had been a TD.
Been a walk-in touchdown.
It'd been, yeah, how much playing time do you think Stetson gets in these next, particularly this weekend? Is it 1 series, 2 series, and then JT Daniels time, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we see JT Daniels. I think Georgia wants to get him some reps. We saw JT come in 2 weeks ago, and he kind of forced the ball and threw a pick. It was just a bad pass. And I think it's kind of a rust situation there, right? Because you need that accuracy and you need those reps to have that rapport with your receiver group. And missing balls like that, you just can't do. And I'm sure that Georgia coaches want him to get some reps. He's been taking second-team reps the last 2 weeks, so definitely Stetson is your starter, and Stetson's going to be there up there first. But I think it's a short life for Stetson Bennett in the next 2 weeks on the field. I think we see him longer against Tech, of course, but this Charleston Southern team, 4-5, I really don't think they're going to be able to give Georgia much of a game in the first few quarters. So I expect JT Daniels to come in. We're going to see a lot also of Brock Vandegrift and Carson Beck. Those 2 guys have been going at it in practices. I know Brock Vandegrift, true freshman, is the scout team quarterback this season. He's done some good things, so I expect to see him and Carson Beck get some playing time as well.
Also on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they played a lot of reps last week. They battled the flu and some other things. Do you think we'll see some of the young guys in the rotation for the Georgia defense?
Oh yeah, I fully expect to see a lot of good guys come in. As far as just at linebacker, especially because when you think about it, Georgia's going to have 3 draft picks at inside backer. They're going to have Quay Walker. They're going to have Kobe Dean. They're going to have Channing Tindall in the NFL draft this spring, more than likely, if no injuries are happening. So taking that into account, we're going to see a lot of Dumas Johnson, and we're going to see a lot of Smail Mondon. And then beyond them right there, we're going to see Kamari Lassiter in the secondary, Javon Bullard. And those guys Kirby Smart has spoken highly on. They've been playing special teams, contributing there. But they're going to get a lot of looks at corner and defensive back star, especially star for Javon Bullard and Kamari Lassiter, who can play star or corner. So we're going to see those guys get some reps. And Georgia, the way that Kirby Smart has kind of built this program and the mental fortitude that these guys have going into each practice with a mentality of every rep counts, because you're playing behind 5 stars, 4 stars, these blue chip recruits who are upperclassmen for the most part. You're playing behind these guys, and every rep counts because you want playing time as well. These young guys want the playing time. They're talented. They're strong. They came from good backgrounds in high school as well as far as football IQ goes. They know what they're doing out there, so they want these reps. And the way to do that beyond just practicing is to make those plays on the field when it counts. So I expect Georgia not to miss a beat as far as flying around and making these plays. And we've seen, you guys see Nick Saban on the sidelines when Alabama plays a good cupcake. He's more mad than when they're playing Tennessee or when they're playing Missouri or Auburn or anybody. So, and I fully expect Kirby Smart to be just like that. Dan Lanning, the DC as well. I think those guys are going to be all over these really young players on this Georgia defense because they're going to have to make it count next year.
You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're talking to J.C. Shelton with UGA Football Live, part of the USA Today College Football Wire. J.C., where would Georgia be right now without Kirby Smart after the reports today on a radio show coming out from Mary Beth Smart, Kirby's wife, said that they were really close to taking the South Carolina job back in 2015?
Yeah, I read that, and it just got me to thinking, so who would have Georgia had, right? Like you said, who would we have pulled in? Would it have been a Lane Kiffin we'd have tried to work away for him? But I don't know if Georgia would go for the Lane Kiffins of the college football world.
We would have had Dan Mullen.
That would Dan Mullen. Oh my goodness!
A.D. McGarity. He came from that Florida tree. He was a big fan of Dan Mullen. If it wasn't for people higher up, he would have been the guy that he pushed for. So could you imagine that right now?
Imagine that.
No, thank you.
yeah.
Well, Kirby actually almost went to Auburn before South Carolina. They didn't want to let him coach through the national championship game. I think it was in 2013 or 21 of those years. He wanted to coach through the game. They wouldn't let him. So Auburn moved on to Gus when they fired Chiswick. I mean, so he could have been in Auburn or South Carolina coaching.
Oh my!
Who knows what happens at that point?
I'm glad he didn't go to Auburn.
Mm-hmm. Auburn fans and Georgia fans are everywhere, just puking a little bit just in their mouth about that. Dan Mullen at Georgia, they can't even picture it. But we've seen how those trails have worked out between those. I know Florida's coming off that SEC championship, but it's not looking good in Gainesville whatsoever, especially on the recruiting trail. It's even beyond what's happening on the field and what Dan Mullen in his comments after press conferences, which always crack me up, but the recruiting trail as well. But Kirby Smart this program just has recruited so well, and the way that Kirby's able to pull in these really quality coaches. I mean, you can't put a price tag on Todd Monken as OC this year, in my opinion. The way he's able to deal with missing 5 receivers at one time, 2 tight ends, the 2 starting tight ends. Missing these guys all year along the offensive line front as well, and the way he's able to play call with what he has, takes what the defense gives them. He uses Stetson Bennett, J.T. Daniels the way that they play the best with. I'm impressed by it, guys. I really am. And if he can keep recruiting this well, I don't see where it's going to have a tail off here.
It seems to me that Kirby, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. This is my thoughts. Kirby seems to be building a team that replicates the old Alabama teams that he was the defensive coordinator for. A decent offense that takes what the defense gives them but just a stifling defense. Would you agree with that assessment?
Oh, yeah, I think you're right on there, especially on defense. Now, I think it has changed from a personnel standpoint as well as a strategic standpoint, just because the offenses have changed from that time when he was in Alabama. Because you think back to 2011 when that vaunted defense, in 2011 that was so good. They're playing offenses that still ran the single high, right? As well as the power high. When they were running pro, they weren't running fast like Tennessee does, for example. They weren't running as many RPOs and stuff like that. So it's a different offensive game, and I think the defense has kind of morphed to that. But the way that Kirby Smart, I think, attacks an offense, I think is the same way, right? They're blitzing, but they're not only blitzing, but they control their gaps. And it's changed a little bit from a personnel standpoint. I say that because you look back, and Kirby Smart has spoke about it as well. We'll take an example of Nakobe Dean at middle linebacker for Georgia right now. He's 6'1", he's 225. Well, that's at least what the stat sheet says. And then you go back and look at that Alabama middle linebacker for 2011. It's Dante Hightower. He's 6'4", he's 250. And that's just Kirby Smart has talked about how that has kind of changed in the last 10 years. You need that speed, you need that coverage ability, as well as the ability to rush the passer and stop the run. So I think it is a very interesting kind of correlation between that Alabama team and defense, especially in this Georgia defense with Kirby Smart right now.
JC, how close would the Alabama-Georgia game or the SEC championship game, the eventual SEC championship game, have to be for both of those teams to get in? Especially, if Georgia wins, it's got to be a close game. Alabama's got to show a lot to the playoff committee to get in, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't see anything. We can always kind of speculate what the College Football Playoff Committee will do here in this situation, but I really don't see how you look at these teams, even if, let's say Alabama loses by a touchdown. I don't see how you keep Alabama out, so let's say Alabama does get pushed out there. They lose by a touchdown to Georgia in the SEC Championship. Georgia obviously remains at 1. Let's say you've got Ohio State, you've got Oregon. Cincinnati will be in over Bama, right, if they're able to run the table. So how can you sit here and say that Cincinnati is going to beat Alabama or Cincinnati is a better team than Alabama? I don't think you can, even with a touchdown loss to Georgia by Alabama. So I think the logical move here, and I think that what they're going to do is really just keep Alabama in. I don't think Alabama's going to lose by more than a touchdown to Georgia. So I think it's going to be Alabama at 4. But it'll be interesting to see if that loss happens, if Cincinnati can possibly jump Alabama.
Ooh, it will be interesting. JC, you have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you not next week, but the following week.
Sounds great, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Y'all be good.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Real quick, cut the music, producer. Cut the music. Okay, yes, sir. We've got a giveaway. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, Panama City Toyota teaming up with Rib Crib, feeding families for the holidays. If you know anybody struggling out there and might have had a rough year and can't put Thanksgiving dinner on the table, then nominate them right here to win a free Thanksgiving dinner from Rib Crib in Callaway. That includes a smoked ham and a turkey. Take your nominations and submit them here to ESPN Panama City at Gmail, or text their story to 215-6290. That's 850-215-6290. All nominated families are invited to join us for a free delicious Thanksgiving meal at Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway. The deadline for this is Monday at 5. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, partly to mostly clear skies, 45 to 52, light east winds. Saturday and Sunday looking pretty good. Low to mid 70s during the day, mostly sunny skies, a few scattered clouds. East-northeast wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy in the mid to upper 50s. Have a great and safe weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
The new app from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is designed specifically for sports fanatics like you. The sports content you demand is always on. Live stream our national and local sports talk anywhere you go. Reach us on all social media. You can also be a part of the show. Call and text into our studios. Plus, up-to-the-minute weather and traffic maps. The new app from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is available at the Apple Store and Google Play.
Oh, the colors of Christmas. Reds, greens, blues, and golds. Makes me think of the beautiful selection of color gemstone jewelry we have at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. And they're all on sale at 60% off. Rubies, emeralds, sapphires, blue topaz, tanzanites, and many more. On sale now through Christmas at 60% off at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Have the perfect colors of Christmas under your tree this year and shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
East 15th Street, Panama City.
Certified Gearhead Motorsports on Panama City Beach, directly across from Pete Edwards Field. Certified Gearhead Motorsports offers full synthetic oil changes for just $30 plus tax. Diesel synthetic oil changes only $85 plus tax. Certified Gearhead Motorsports. They do it all, from oil changes to engine overhauls. Call now for an appointment, 850-532-8783. Let them work up an estimate or quote of the repairs that you need. Call now, 850-532-8783.
Have you been to Jin Jin Super King Buffet? It's not your average Jin Jin. Well, here's what you're missing. Jin Jin Super King Buffet has competitive pricing, a great selection, extensive buffet options perfect for family dining. Menu options also include top quality seafood, hibachi and sushi bar, or select their mouth-watering crab legs by order. Bring the family out to Jin Jin Super King Buffet, located next to Wonderworks at 9802 Front Beach Road on Panama City Beach.
Damsel in Defense presents Defend Your Stance. Got an opinion? Time to defend it. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. We're in the Slim Chicken Studios, the Afternoon Underdogs. Tyler Bishop, Old School Caveman, Cameraman Rick on the cameras today. I'm your host, David Hayes, and this is Defend Your Stance, and it's brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, Independent Damsel Pro for Damsel in Defense. December 11th and the 12th, you guys will be in Jacksonville.
That's correct.
I pity the fool who doesn't use our tool. How would you redraft? Let's just even look at the top 3 quarterbacks. But how would you go about redrafting the quarterbacks? Would Mac go 1 overall, or would it be still Trevor Lawrence with the Jacksonville Jaguars? What do you think, guys?
I think Trevor Lawrence has the higher ceiling ultimately, but right now with just the play on the field so far this season, Mac Jones I'd probably put above Trevor Lawrence. But in a couple of seasons, I would think Trevor Lawrence, if he stays in the league and stays healthy, will probably be like a better athlete.
Give me Trevor Lawrence all day if they're going to the same system.
Yes.
But give me Mac Jones in New England over Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer.
Okay, yeah.
I like that
answer. Because you have Urban Meyer who's never been in the NFL before. A lot of his staff's never been in the NFL. Saying that's going to be a growing. Whether Urban Meyer pans out in the NFL is a whole different issue.
Do we think that Trevor Lawrence would have fit in the same with that Bill Belichick system that what Mac Jones has done to this point? Or is there too much star power for a guy like Trevor Lawrence in a sense?
Could he have done it? I don't know. I mean, probably.
Yeah.
I think he could. Would he have done as well as quickly? Maybe not, because I don't think that Clemson offense is quite as sophisticated as some of the things he was asked to do at Alabama as far as checks and reads. I know a lot of theirs is, one look and go, and there's a lot of, not quite as complex, and that's why they come in and have some of those bigger numbers. But, I think you can't – how often do you see a guy get drafted one place, he sucks, and he goes somewhere else and just fits in that system better and blows it up? I think that's what you're seeing right now with Mac. I don't think he's a better quarterback necessarily than Lawrence, but give me New England, Bill
He's
Belichick,
on a better
Josh
team.
McDaniels all day, every day.
Dude, and that Patriots defense right now is reeling.
Well, and Damian Harris and the running back Stevenson.
Ramondre.
They've had some good success this year, and I think, like I said, I think football's such a team game. It's hard to say it's just because of the one guy.
What you got, Old School? I see the motors turning over there.
No, I think that Trevor Lawrence is still, as Caveman said, he has the highest ceiling. He went to the toughest, other than maybe Zach Wilson going to the Jets. But he went to the toughest place. As you said, Urban Meyer, he's a college coach. He's still trying to figure out he doesn't even know you're supposed to ride back on the plane with the team. So, I mean, I think that if Trevor Lawrence had gone to the Patriots, oh, man, I think they would be even further along.
Do you?
Yeah. But I think they got their guy, the guy that is a perfect fit. If you've ever listened to Belichick's rant about what he wants from a quarterback,
I don't think Trevor Lawrence even fits in that.
No, I mean it fits Mac Jones to the T. The other guys, we don't know yet because there hasn't been enough playing time to really to know what Justin Fields is going to be. Or
I think if you were to put Mac on the Jaguars, you'd be calling Mac a bust right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Or if you'd have put anybody down there.
Even Justin Fields.
I have to say that I think that Trevor Lawrence is kind of coming around for me. Like I'm saying my opinion on Trevor Lawrence as being an NFL quarterback, because I really didn't think that his chances stood tall at all going to Jacksonville. Urban Meyer, first year system, everything kind of being revamped there, and he's been used to being in winning ways already. I don't know exactly what his high school situation was, but
he's
won.
Perfect. He hasn't lost until he got to the NFL.
He won there, and then college football with the Clemson Tigers. They had a great season year in and year out. So this is his first.
This is first adversity that he's ever having to face as far as losing goes.
All right, if Lane Kiffin were to leave, Miami or LSU? Now I know where you're going with it, but reiterate it.
It's got to be LSU. I mean, Miami doesn't have on-campus stadium. Their fan base is lacking. I mean, you look at their games, their attendance is 20% on a good day, unless they're playing Florida State or somebody like that maybe. I'm not even sure their administration cares about sports right now. I mean, they've had some defections in baseball and other things where they lost. I want to say they lost a good number of guys off their baseball team to the transfer portal. It's just there's something in Miami bigger than
there is
the football. I know they just fired their AD.
There is.
So maybe, but I'm not sure the president cares about.
There's one thing that caught my ear in the last couple of days. I didn't know about Lane Kiffin, and this could actually bring him to Miami. And I mean, there is this in Louisiana too, but not as great as Miami. But fishing, apparently this guy loves to fish. I like to fish, and it's something I'm very passionate about, something I've done as long as I can remember. And when I got the option to move to Florida, I was like, hell yeah, are you kidding me? Florida, like the fishing capital of the world? Yeah, I want to go experience that. And I know he was at FIU, and so he's been down there. And if that's something that's very passionate to him and something that he's into and really wants to do, that is a big draw, and that's something that might bring him to a place like Miami.
Making $7 million a year, I think he can fish wherever he wants.
He can, but when it's closer and you can still do it.
Yeah, but he's got the jet plane right there from Ole Miss that he's allowed to use it anytime
I feel
he
you,
wants.
but I'm just telling you, man. It's and then if you want to take all your gear, I mean, I'm sure like you can have plenty of places and everything, but I mean, yeah.
That's a good point, though. That outside of the box.
It might sound kind of dumb, but I mean, like it
got
my
house
gears
down there in Boca Raton.
If he leaves Ole Miss for Miami, I would be genuinely surprised. I think Ole Miss is a better job than Miami.
I agree 1,000%. Right now, what he's done with Ole Miss in the last 2 years, he's made. Lane Kiffin has made Ole Miss a better job.
And if Miami can hook Lane Kiffin, if that's the right term, that'll be like their personal best. That'll be a big catch
committed to
for
winning
Miami.
If they're going after Lane,
commitment to playing football at that point.
I think it would take longer to rebuild Miami.
Oh, definitely,
100%.
That's a project.
Especially what he did with Ole Miss. But if you look at both programs with LSU and with Miami, there's a lot to be done. With LSU, it's more kind of behind the scenes legality stuff and all that good stuff. With Miami, I think the biggest point of it is, do they even care about winning at this point outside of their fans?
Outside of football, we know Lane Kiffin likes the spotlight. Where's their bigger spotlight, Miami or in Baton Rouge? And
I think at the beginning of the season, or Baton Rouge.
Personal life, the glitz, you know what I'm saying? The other perks
I would say
that go with.
Ole Miss right now has more of a spotlight on them than what Miami does, though.
Are you talking? I'm not talking about just in football. I'm talking about like just like just like the culture, like and just everything. Miami's just a bigger town. It is just more excess there. You're gonna rub elbows with a lot, bigger and better and fancier type people, and at Miami than you are in Baton Rouge. Let's just be honest. And we know, like I said, Lane Kiffin, he likes to be seen. He likes to be heard. So, hey, where is that going to, amplify it or you're going to make a bigger scene? Miami. And if that's important to him, it might make the difference.
Hey, I just got a text from Jeremy Barr. He said, Rib Crib's on the beach tonight, y'all. Food truck is at the 10X Living Apartment Complex from now until 7:30. If you want some great food, get out to the Slim Chickens or to the Rib Crib food truck on the beach tonight at the 10X Living Apartment Complex. That's nice.
That's where you're
right across the bridge. Yeah, that's where my future in-laws are living. All right, you're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Don't forget to nominate somebody for the free turkey from Rib Crib and the smoked ham and all the fixings. 850-215-6290.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
58! This week on Football Sunday on ESPN Radio. Go! Aaron Rodgers leads the Green Bay Packers into Minneapolis to face Kirk Cousins and the Vikings.
Look at what the Packers have done over the last 3 weeks. They've gotten better each and every week under new defensive coordinator Joe Barry.
Then in Seattle, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks welcome Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
Straight ahead into the end zone. James Conner, touchdown Cardinals.
NFL Sundays begin Sunday mornings at 11. ESPN Northwest Florida.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby. The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey, cheesy, crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously. But as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Your exclusive home for Auburn Tiger football. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX Lynn in Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Everyone loves a win-win. And if you're a fan of sports betting, you can win-win too. Billions of dollars for education, legal sports betting for you. We're Florida Education Champions, and our petition brings legal sports betting to Florida and gives all the tax revenue to public education. That's a win for you and our kids. Request your petition to bring competition to sports betting in Florida and hundreds of millions of dollars to our public schools. We'll rush it to you in the mail, sign it, date it, return it. The postage is paid. Be a champion for education by texting WIN at 888-922-2240 and sign the petition. That's WIN at 888-922-2240. It's a win-win.
Paid political advertisement paid for by Florida Education Champions. P.O. Box 8040, Tallahassee, Florida 32314.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio. Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back for hour 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs here in the Slim Chicken Studio. Give us a call on the Rib Crib hotline, 850-215-6290. Still looking for an answer to the trivia question. Brought to you by Merchant Management Group, 850-747-0664. Give them a call if you own a restaurant and you'd like to be one of the 5 restaurants that we give away $25 digital gift cards to. They can really help you out, and they can cut some credit card processing fees out of the equation. Who has the most passing yards in a single game for the Kansas City Chiefs? And don't forget tonight, Tommy Oliver, 7:30, Lincoln at Mosley, and We're teaming up with Panama City Toyota to feed families for the holidays. If you know someone who had a rough year, might miss out on a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, nominate them to win a free Thanksgiving dinner from Rib Crib in Callaway. That's going to include a smoked ham and a turkey. Submit your nominations to espnpanamacity@gmail or text a story 850-215-6290. All nominated families are invited to join us for a free delicious Thanksgiving meal at Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway, and the deadline for this is Monday at 5 p.m. Let's look at some of the big college football games from the week, or from this coming up weekend. Let's start with Wake Forest and Clemson. Clemson's a 3.5-point favorite at the house up against the number 10 team in the land, Wake Forest. Old School, what do you like from this game? Who do you think comes away with the dub?
I think this is going to be one of the better games of the weekend because, Clemson's struggles has not necessarily been offensively. It's been more, they're not defensively. Their struggle has been more on the offensive side. And Wake Forest is the exact opposite. They are great on offense and pretty weak on defense. So I think this is going to be a super game. And I think Wake Forest, you give them just the hint that they're going to be they can beat Clemson. They're going to be just salivating with the opportunity of going down there and beating Clemson. So I'm going to pick number 10 Wake Forest to come away with the victory.
With the victory, not even with the points.
I'm talking about they're just going to win straight up.
What are you thinking, Tyler? Is this old man crazy?
I don't think he's crazy. I think it's an interesting pick. I kind of see what you're saying there. Wake Forest and North Carolina had a game where they had like 120 combined points.
Yeah.
They put up something like 70 on Army earlier this year. Like, their offense can score, but can they score on a team like Clemson? That's a whole different animal. Clemson's missing some guys along that defensive line and linebacker, but still that talent's there. Venables is there. They're still playing good defense. And Clemson at home, 3.5. 3.5 feels about right. I just don't know if Clemson's offense can be a score enough to win by more than that. And they can't afford too many busted plays by their defense. Wake Forest starts getting up, 10, 15, 10 points, 14 points at any point during the game. I'm not counting on their offense to be able to come back on. I think their defense has to keep them in the game. I'm going to give them the home field advantage. I think they'll end up winning by, I'll say a little over. I'll say they'll cover the spread, 4-7, somewhere in there.
No Justin Ross in this game for Clemson. That's going to make it tough for Uiagalelei, and it's been tough for him all year long. Man, I don't know. Clemson has kind of turned that corner, that in a sense, in the last few games. Not against primetime opponents by any stretch of the imagination, but they've got the wins. But I don't know. Wake Forest is, especially last week with that win over North Carolina State and having to battle back and forth to win that game. I think that it almost has them battle tested. So I think I'm gonna side with Old School on this one and actually take Wake Forest to win the ball game. But you never can count out Clemson. As much as they've lost this year, it's still hard to count them out with the job that Dabo does.
And the loss that Clemson had of their middle linebacker, number 47, Sikowski, or however you say it, that's a big loss.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge loss. He was the quarterback of that defense. He was the heart and soul of that defense. And I just think Wake Forest is just going to – I think they're offensively, they create too many problems. And Clemson's not going to be able to handle that. I don't care that they are playing at home.
Well, I am going to count Clemson out, and I do think Wake Forest is going to win this game. And they got a lot more to play for. Clemson, their season's done.
Yeah,
they got nothing else to play for.
A bowl game, come on.
These guys don't care about bowl games anymore. Bowl games aren't what they used to be anymore. A lot of guys sit them out. They're getting ready for the draft and such. I don't take any stock in a lot of those bowl games. But Wake definitely, even if you're not even playing for a championship this year, it's just for the bragging rights and just to let Clemson know, hey, we just kicked your butt last year, just so that next year when they come around, they just got something in their head for them.
Yeah, I just think, if you've been taking a licking every year for however 15 years.
You want a chance to pay it back.
And you got a payback chance, man, they're going down there with motivation, and they're wanting to put a hurting on Clemson. And I think they're going to.
All right, let's go to the big game in the Big Ten. Number 7, Michigan State, visiting number 4, Ohio State. Ohio State's giving up 19.5 points. Tyler, where are you at on this game?
I tell you what, I've been a big Mel Tucker fan. He came over with Kirby to Athens from Alabama when Kirby got hired in 2016. He went to Colorado, had a decent year and a half there. Michigan State's been good for me this year. I've had a lot of faith in them. They pulled off some good upsets for me and made me some money on the gambling trail. But I don't think Michigan State's got the athletes. They brought in like 40-something players over the last year with the transfer portal and everything else. They've done a great job. Their running back has played really well, and I think if they can get him going, they can shorten the game and lower the possessions and may make it hard to cover that 20. But I think if Ohio State gets in a rhythm, they're going to put up 50 points on them. I mean, it's that Ohio State when it starts clicking. I just don't think Michigan State has the athletes to keep up. And it's kind of what's happened with Michigan State. They've either won a close game or they've gotten blown out. It seems like in these types of games. Same thing with Wisconsin and things like that. They just don't have them.
I hate to hear the truth, but the truth has got to be told. Ohio State, when they're clicking, it's hard to stop them.
Are they clicking or not? That's the key.
Yep. Old school.
Oh, I think that Bill Horner yesterday shared a stat with us that,
does not bode well for the Spartans.
Right. Michigan State has the single worst pass defense in all of major college football.
And it's not like they've played a bunch of Big 12 air raid teams either.
Yeah. So, and you see the athletes that Ohio State has on their offensive side of the ball, the wide receivers. I just don't see how they match up, and I think this is going to be a pitch and catch game all day long, and Ohio State's going to run them out of the house.
Yeah, I agree. It has to be like over in East Lansing, and it wasn't, at the Horseshoe. I think, Sparty might actually have a chance of keeping up with Ohio State, but actually being in their house, yeah, they're going to run away with this one, and I don't see them covering the spread.
Yeah, that's wait. You don't see Ohio State covering the spread, or you don't see Michigan State?
Oh, Michigan State, they're not going to stick with it. Yeah. I mean, Ohio State's going to cover it. I'm sorry, but yeah, Michigan State's not going to get anywhere close. I don't think.
I don't want to see that because I put Michigan State down in there as my dog just to stay within the 19.5 points. I don't know what's going to happen in it. Let's find out what Chef Chris thinks. We've got him on the Rib Crib hotline. Chef Chris, go ahead.
Buddy, they must think that Ohio State overnight turned into Alabama because they don't deserve no 19 points. Come on now. Minus 19, that's a discount. Give me Sparty, baby.
Give me Sparty. What?
How much did Ohio State just beat Purdue by last week?
Oh, what was it? 28?
A half.
A bazillion and a half. I like that.
Just making sure we're talking about the same.
But hey, they beat them by the same amount that Mel Tucker just got paid, $95 million.
Chef Chris, we need an episode on how to eat this of Boilermakers. How do you eat Boilermakers?
I did one. Hey, buddy, I did one today on how do you eat collard greens because it's about to be Thanksgiving,
If you haven't,
got to get that pepper vinegar. It's going to be spicy in the Horseshoe. I think Sparty's going to give them a run for their money. They'll keep it within 19.
All right. What other big games are sticking out to you this week, Chef Chris?
I think Wake runs away with it. I don't think Clemson's got a chance with this Wake. Wake's a little bit upset they lost the game that they probably shouldn't have lost, and I think that they're going to make a statement on Saturday that they belong in the top 10. I'd like to see Wake beat Clemson by 14 or more.
Ooh, I like that call.
Sign me up for one of those.
And let's go to your team here. FSU's taking on Boston College. Boston College is 2-point favorite. Can Florida State string some wins together here?
I'd like to see them win. I don't think they will. It's going to be pretty cold in Boston, so we traditionally just don't play well when it's freezing, and it's literally supposed to be freezing. I think it's like 36 or 37 degrees as a high, so that's going to be trouble for Florida State. If Jordan Travis does Jordan Travis and he can stay healthy for the full game, I think we get out of there with a win, but it's going to be cold, and that Boston College wants to win this one.
Well, you can stay warm by running. So if he just continuously runs, we'll see what happens. And then another one. You think Ole Miss is going to be in the SEC championship game? So tell me what happens with Arkansas and Alabama.
I think that Arkansas is going to pull an upset. I mean, I've watched some Alabama football this year, and I think Arkansas wants this game bad. And I think they need it bad. They got derailed early in the year. There's a little bit of smoke and mirrors with the team, and I think that they're going to use that for some locker room motivation, and hopefully, I think the greatest thing in the world would be Lane Kiffin in the SEC championship. So I just want to see Lane Given and Kirby Smart at a press conference together because it's going to be great television.
There's no lie there, Chef Chris. Give me your top 4 that's going to end up. Who's going to be in the college football playoff?
Georgia. Oh, man. I'm going to take Georgia. I'm going to take Michigan to represent the Big Ten. I'm going to give me Oklahoma State. Somehow they're going to sneak their way in there. And just for S&Gs, you can Google that one. Give me Ole Miss.
I love it, man. If we saw a playoff like this, we'd be in 12 teams next year, no doubt.
That's why they created the playoff for matchups like that.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully we see 12 teams next year. But that's why they created it. No one wants to see Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and one other team every year. No, in Ohio State. No one wants to see in one other team every year because when it was Florida State, they got blown out. Whenever it was Washington, they got blown out. Whenever it was Michigan State, they were close at a half, but then they got blown out. So, like, the other team always gets smoked, and it's not worth it.
You're absolutely right. Chef Chris, where can people find your How to Eat This videos? Can you find those on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube. They can search on YouTube for How to Eat This, and they'll pop up.
There's some funny videos. You'll get a ton of laughs. They appreciate you, Chef Chris.
Hey,
Hey,
you give me
thanks,
that
guys. Y'all
playoff,
have
I'm
a
buying
good
my
one.
national championship shirt right now. You give me Michigan, Oklahoma State, and Ole Miss. Give me some of that right now. I'll take that all day. I don't know how Ole Miss makes it to the SEC title game and then loses, and I don't know. But let's bring it on. I'm
Well, he said for S&Gs, you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So just for some giggles there.
Entertainment factor.
For the entertainment factor. I mean, hey, it could work out like that. I mean, and Michigan fans, the state of Michigan would be ecstatic about this one. I think Michigan State fans as well would be just as happy to see Michigan get in instead of Ohio State. Don't you? I mean,
maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Can we just note we got Ohio State ranked by 20 points over number 7 Michigan. We got number 2 Alabama ranked by 20.5 over 21 Arkansas. Cincinnati's getting 10.5 versus unranked SMU, and we're talking about them needing to be in the playoff. Like we got ranked games that are 3 touchdown favorites.
Yeah,
and then we're arguing about if they should get in over an Alabama or Ohio State. Vegas doesn't seem to agree. I mean, how much would Alabama be favored over SMU or Ohio State? How many points would they be giving up right now?
24.
And we got a number 3 team that's only a 3-point.
That's a 3-point dog on the road.
Yeah, underdog.
I mean, it's,
but that's the
you got number 10 that's a 3-point dog on the road too. You know, it's just
weird.
such a huge gap, I think, from that top to that, even that next tier. And people don't seem to appreciate it, I don't think.
How much does Cincinnati need to beat SMU by for the committee to put some respect on their name?
3 touchdowns plus.
3 touchdowns plus. Because it's been a struggle for them against teams that they shouldn't be in these close games with, which, you got to win the game. There's a point to that. But when you're playing lower tier teams, you've got to blow them out of the water when your one premier win on your schedule is Notre Dame.
And I don't think SMU's a bad team by any stretch.
No.
But, I mean, you're favored 10.5, 11 points. So 2 touchdowns doesn't move the needle. 17, I don't think really moves the needle. You start talking doubling that spread, I think then it's like, okay, that was a really solid, thorough win. Obviously, anything more than that's great. You start getting less than that, and it's like, okay, well, here's another one. I mean, they had Tulsa, they've had Navy, they've had Tulane, all games that were less than 10 points going into the fourth quarter. Like Navy, that are games,
and especially with Navy.
What are you doing there, guys? Like, I mean, you're not seeing that. I mean, it's hard to.
Playing against Navy, you don't see that kind of offense on a regular basis,
That's a good point.
So when a team goes up against a team like that, and you're constantly getting hit at the line of scrimmage, and they're constantly pounding the ball, I mean, early on, it's like a regular game, but by the time you get probably late in that third quarter, those guys, it's like a guy taking body blows in a boxing match. By the time you get to around like 8, 9, 10, and taking those shots to the liver and stuff, it pays your price.
And I get that with Navy, but I mean, like South Florida this week, it was a 10-point game in the fourth quarter, like against a bad.
They ended up pulling away a little bit, but
it's just, I mean, when it's
dominate them.
Yeah, when it's a ball game in the fourth quarter against some of these teams. That
You're
are
not
2
seeing
and 5
Navy playing against these other teams like Alabama and stuff like that either. Like, let's see them play a team like Navy and see how they do.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if Oregon loses to Utah this week and Ohio State loses to Michigan State? Would they bump Cincinnati up to 3, or would they find another way
Well,
to
They
keep
should
Cincinnati
bump them up, but they'll probably
on the
find a way.
outside looking
Oregon
in?
loses and who? Ohio State.
Ohio State.
You have to move Michigan State up to 3 at that point, right?
Oh,
For beating
yeah,
Ohio
because they
State.
would
So, I mean, I
win,
think
yeah.
Cincinnati jumps up to 4 at that point. But
Possibly, but then let's say Oklahoma State, I forget who it is that they're playing this week, but let's say that they have a big-time win, then we could be talking about Chef Chris getting that right with Oklahoma State moving up a little bit higher.
I think what people are forgetting about teams like Oklahoma, because you got Oklahoma State, and Baylor all in that top 12 or 13 bracket, but then you've also got Michigan State, and Ohio State. Those teams are going to start playing each other and knocking each other back, the Big Ten teams.
Yeah, it's going to figure
and then
itself
if an
out.
Oklahoma team wins out, you're going to have a win over a Baylor, a win over the other Oklahoma team, and it gives you a chance to jump right up.
That's why I don't understand why they just don't leave these teams where they need to be if they deserve to be like in the top 4. Usually it's going to figure itself out when they have these conference championship games and whatnot. And then guess what? If they still win at the end, then they deserve to be in. And this is the reason why they're doing this. They want to have them outside looking in. That way, if a little chaos happens, they can still keep them out.
Y'all get out to the 10X living apartments out there. Go visit the Rib Crib food truck. They're going to be there until 7:30, and we're teaming up with Rib Crib Panama City Toyota to feed families for the holidays. If you know a family that's had a rough year and could miss out on a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, nominate them, or if it's your family, nominate yourselves to win a free Thanksgiving dinner from Rib Crib in Callaway. That's going to include a smoked ham and turkey. Submit your nominations to ESPNPanamaCity at Gmail. Text their story to 850-215-6290. All families that are nominated are invited to join us for a free delicious Thanksgiving meal at Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway. Don't forget about Lincoln and Mosley tonight. Tommy Oliver, 7:30. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, partly to mostly clear skies, 45 to 52, light east winds. Saturday and Sunday looking pretty good. Low to mid-70s during the day, mostly sunny skies, a few scattered clouds. East-northeast wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy in the mid to upper 50s. Have a great and safe weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Coach James Hale Show.
If Florida loses to FSU,
Florida State can win the Florida State Championship.
That's right.
And you win the Florida State Championship, you win recruiting.
Yeah, that's true.
And so they got the win over Miami. That
Big
was
plus.
huge. And now if you can get the sweep and get the Gators, you have got a leg up.
Weekday morning, 7 to 9 on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Bestway Portable Buildings has been in the Panama City area since 1989. They've been here longer than anyone else. The reasons? High quality, reasonable prices, and tremendous service. Stop by and see owner Jason Mulder and let him and his staff help you pick out the perfect building for your home or business. Just down from Harts Marine on North Highway 231. Online at bestwayportablebuildings.com. Member of the BBB. Bestway Portable Buildings. The best in portable, period.
Don't go through the fall months with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now. Regenerative solutions are here, bringing lasting relief from joint pain with no downtime, no surgery, no steroids. QC Kinetics use natural biological therapies that restore, repair, damaged tissues in your knees, shoulders, hip, and back. Patients are raving about the results. You don't have to live with chronic pain. And don't think surgery is your only option. Call QC Kinetics now. Learn about these exciting natural alternatives. Hey, you've heard football legend Emmitt Smith talk about QC. It's time to see what it's all about. Fall is a time to enjoy life to the fullest. Act now. Restorative therapies are available here and in the office. Consultation is free. Call QC Kinetics 850-270-3939. Non-surgical joint pain relief. 850-270-3939.
They said it couldn't be done. The Afternoon Underdogs are live in the Slim Chicken studio.
They say it can't be done.
Are we going to do what they say can't be done?
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida's Tyler Bishop, David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're teaming up with Panama City Toyota. Feeding families for the holidays. If you know a family who had a rough year, might miss out on a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, nominate them to win a free Thanksgiving dinner from Rib Crib in Callaway. That's going to include a smoked ham and turkey. Submit your nominations to espnpanamacity@gmail or text a story 850-215-6290. Plus, all nominated families are invited to join us for a free, delicious Thanksgiving meal at Quorum Steak and Egg in Callaway. Deadline to enter Monday at 5 o'clock. And we've got a big weekend ahead of us right here on our air. Texas at West Virginia, kicking off at, 10:30 for the pregame there, and Auburn at South Carolina, 5 p.m. for that one. All right, let's get into some more NFL discussions. Tyler, can the Bucs repeat?
I mean, can they? Obviously, you got Tom Brady. Never count him out, especially once he gets to playoff football there. But I mean, they lost to the Saints. They've lost to the Washington football team last week. They've struggled. He struggled. Is his age finally catching up with him? I mean, they've still got all the weapons there. The defense has been banged up. If they can get healthy, that'll help them out a good bit. I wouldn't bet on him right now, but you get Tom Brady into playoff football, and he's kind of like Eli Manning in that sense that not exactly a guy you want to play in an elimination game, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. What do you think, Old School?
I think the key to it is the defense. If they can get their defense healthy, because in my opinion, that's what won them the Super Bowl last year. If the defense gets healthy, Tampa Bay is going to be just very difficult to take out. So I certainly think Tampa Bay has a better chance than Kansas City.
Okay, man.
Yeah, can they? Sure they can. Will they? I don't expect them to. It's so hard to win back-to-back years in the NFL. I mean, parity in the league and the way the schedules change and whatnot. And just even being able to keep your team together. And, I mean, they have since last year. But like Old School was saying, some issues on the defense, and it's just so dang tough. The NFC, too, it's the tougher of the two conferences right now. So it's not as easy to come out of the NFC. So barring all those things, if I was a betting man, I would say no.
All right. Will the underdogs? Oh, I gotta answer. I don't
what's
think
your
that.
pick?
Yeah, I don't think that they'll repeat. But what Tyler said is pretty much my exact sentiments. You get Tom Brady into the playoffs, you don't know what's gonna happen. And I don't just mean Tom Brady. Is Tom Brady the one throwing every single touchdown pass that wins them a Super Bowl or any big game? No, but it's the team. Whatever Bo Schembechler said to Lloyd Carr, or that started that thing at Michigan, and then Lloyd Carr instilled that into Tom Brady, and it stuck with them ever since.
It's not a coincidence the guy's won 6 Super Bowls, whatever it is. I mean, it's not always him, but what he brings to a team is just, it's obviously the intangibles are obvious.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part for me is that the Saints have been kind of his kryptonite. But
especially in Tampa. Since
so, it'll be – I think they still play one more time this year, so
I don't think he's beat him in the regular season yet.
I don't think he has either.
Got blown out both times last year, and then this year was with Trevor Siemian coming in and Winston going down, they still lost that one.
But I just think their defense was just so stifling last year in the playoffs that's the key for them, as I said earlier.
Will the underdogs have a winning record in Week 11 as they've had in the last couple of weeks?
It's been, 3 weeks in a row now?
3 weeks. The train's got to stop at some point, right?
At some point. So I say no.
What do you say?
I would have to agree with that and say no. Long enough timeline, it's already been kind of an anomaly.
I mean, the easy answer is no. That's why they're underdogs, right?
Yeah.
But, you're looking at some of these games we got listed here. You're talking a 1-point game, a 2-point game, a 1-point game, a 2.5. 2. Like, those aren't spread. Those aren't hard. Those basically toss-up games in the NFL. You're talking a field goal either way.
We've been seeing a lot more injuries the last couple of years. All the COVID concerns. Rosters aren't built the same, and they're not, staying consistently healthy. Oh, and you got the extra game this year, too. Don't forget about that. More time for people to get hurt. So, Vegas, actually, they're probably the ones taking the hit right now for a change.
Yeah, I think
actually kind of nice.
Unlikely the underdogs keep winning like they have, but like I said, this week the biggest spread that I'm seeing on this is 7. So it's not like you're talking a huge upset either way.
Yeah, these are kind of just the premier games, but you don't have a lot of lopsided. You've got the Titans over the Texans by 10. You've got Monday Night Football, which is the Bucs No. Yeah. The Giants and the Bucks, 11-point spread there. And everything else is
7 points.
I mean, but like anything, once you get up to about 13, 14, then it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But anything, below that, it's still pretty normal for an NFL game.
Yeah, I mean, but I think most spreads in the NFL are anywhere from 3.5 to 7.
Yeah, one possession.
Yeah, and so, I've just flown into Vegas at night, and I look down and I see all those lights. And if you've been on the Strip, and I think these guys are pretty good at picking things.
It's not built on losses.
It's not built on losses.
There's a lot of dopes paying for all those lights and everything that you're saying.
So
take offense to that remark, but it's.
So I mean, I just think that at some point it has to flip around.
If your team could steal any player in the league, who would it be?
My team.
Not even a trade. You don't got to get rid of anybody, but you take your team, which I guess is the Buccaneers. So y'all get anybody that you want, anyways. It's almost like the Rams.
Yeah, my answer is pretty easy.
Let's hear it, Caveman.
Aaron Donald.
Wouldn't we all go that way?
That's pretty.
I mean, like, get that guy on your defense, and I mean, you don't have to worry about pass rushing on that side, until that guy's retired. So, yeah, give me Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald to the Eagles.
Just to be different, give me a guy like Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's already been on my team, so I know. But yeah.
Can help shut down like one side of the field. He typically can lock down, the other team's best player, whether it's a tight end. He's got the size to match up with those kind of guys. He's got the speed to match up with a wide receiver. He's a defensive player that you don't see very often as far as his scheme versatility versus as far as, it's like one of those gadget players on offense that can line up at running back, wide receiver, Taysom Hill type guy. He's like that on a defense.
Yeah, that's a good point. Positions. When did Jalen Ramsey play for the Eagles?
Early in his career.
No, Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's drafted by Jacksonville.
Drafted Jacksonville straight to the Rams from there. Because Sam Kavaris was talking about that the other day, that's one of the reasons that they got rid of Jalen was because of some of his antics on the sideline and off the field. Man, I love the Aaron Donald pick. I was kind of leaning towards Trayvon Diggs headed to the Titans because cornerback is a little weak there, and also interception machine. And I'm an Alabama guy, so it kind of lines up like there. And then also Minkah Fitzpatrick to be on the opposite side of Kevin Byard and strengthen up the safety position. But for some reason, in the last few weeks, the defensive cornerbacks, safeties have been playing good for the Titans. Don't ask me where that came from.
Diggs might have been a good pick, and I was thinking about that too, but he still might be a flash in the pan. We don't know yet.
It absolutely could be like that, but I mean, his brother wasn't a flash in the pan, and Stephon Diggs, and the kid was going to be playing wide receiver at Alabama, and then Nick Saban turned him into a defensive back, and it's just caught like wildfire for him.
And Diggs going to Buffalo, I think, really helped him out playing with Josh Allen instead of Kirk Cousins.
That was
That's
tremendous.
Definitely opened him up. If he was still in Minnesota, I don't think we'd be seeing the things out of Diggs like we're seeing in Buffalo.
Well, we saw great things from Diggs in Minnesota, but what we saw was him being kind of a number two with a quarterback who could be on fire one week, and then the next week it's like, what's going on? So, I mean, you even look at how it's helped Justin Jefferson being the number two or whatever, he's a dog.
He's essentially the same player
exactly.
Production wise. Like he'll have a 200-yard game and then a 3-yard game. You
can't
trust Kirk Cousins.
You can't trust Kirk Cousins, who's got one of the best touchdown to interception ratios in the league this year.
You should know if that guy's playing in prime time, you better count him out and don't put your money on him because he's going to lose you.
You like that?
Real quick, back to the question. My buddy just texted me. He said Justin Tucker. Most accurate kicker. I mean, and with how many games come down to a field goal, we saw what the.
But his career's like he's in the twilight now. He's been around, so I don't know if I'd steal him
to an extent. If we're talking a 1-game season, you can't play him too much farther ahead than that. I mean, if you're talking a kicker that can guarantee 2 or 3 extra wins a year, like that's. I mean, what he did against what was it, the 65-yarder against the
Lions?
Yeah,
dude, it's kind of crazy because
just don't try
outside
a
of the Bengals,
68-yarder. You try a 68-yarder, it'll be a kick 6.
Well, you could try a 48-yarder and be the freaking Lions kicker, and it looks like you were like, what are you doing? Playing foot golf? What the heck, man? That's ridiculous. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back talking about some of the NFL games in particular this weekend, and don't forget about the triple header on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, starting off with the Packers and Vikings, followed up by the Cardinals and Seahawks, and the main event of the evening. It's going to be a big one. The Steelers and the Chargers. Hey, that's Sunday Night Football for you. Afternoon Underdogs. Be right back.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Don't let anybody out there be conflicted. Paul Feinbaum has a heart of gold.
There are some people who communicate to me and say, hey, I liked it much better when everyone hated you and you would yell at callers, but that's probably not going to ever happen again.
I think you've created a family environment with this format, and it means a lot to people like me.
Thank you very much.
Weeknights starting at 6. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hello, Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hello, Tracy. It's Santa. I'm so busy this year, I really could use your help.
Absolutely, Santa. I'm happy to help.
This year, I want to make sure everyone gets what they ask for, and I know Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the largest selection at the lowest prices.
We sure do, Santa. We have some of the hottest trending styles around, and our cases are packed full of great deals.
Ho, 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 Tracy. I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Folks, shop where Santa shops at Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Hi, this is Bobby Likas with another Car Clinic Minute. I don't know what Shakespeare had in mind when he wrote about the stuff dreams are made of, but I know just where to find it. When I cruise back, it's all about Woodward Avenue.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and Hometown Towing.
In The Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare reflected, all that glitters is not gold. He was right. In 1910, the shimmer was from the site of the first moving assembly line, Henry Ford's Crystal Palace, located on Detroit's Woodward Avenue. Marked in 1701, when Antoine Cadillac founded what would become the Motor City, this history-studded thoroughfare is the scene of many innovations, including the first traffic lights and the first mile of paved concrete road. Today, Woodward Avenue is the stuff dreams are made of as the setting of the 16-mile automotive fashion parade, which lures 1.7 million people and 40,000 classic cars. The Woodward Avenue Dream Cruise. I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
When you want a big-time sports show, tune in for the Afternoon Underdogs.
I'm going to send you up against the best.
Weekdays from 4 till 6.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Live from the Slim Chicken Studio.
Grenade for speed.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're about to start spreading rumors here. Chick-fil-A on Sundays. No. Welcome into the Slim Chicken Studio. Give us a call on the Rib Crib hotline, 850-215-6290. I'm David Hayes. We got Tyler Bishop, old school caveman Rick in the building. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. Let's get to that Rib Crib hotline. We got Wright State Chris on the line. Go ahead, bud.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Man, fantastic, bro.
Yo, Chris.
I was driving by Tommy Oliver earlier, and man, it's awesome getting state playoff football, and it's a really special time for those kids. So that's awesome right now. But talking about something you guys mentioned earlier, I went to Eastern Michigan for 2 years. I've lived around enough Michigan State fans. Michigan State fans are not pulling for Michigan to get in the playoff.
No, but no. What I'm saying is, if they beat Ohio State, would Michigan State fans rather see Ohio State or Michigan get in?
There are Michigan State fans and some Michigan fans that will argue with you that Michigan State's a bigger rivalry. I've been around the arguments, so okay. I just have a feeling that Michigan State fans do not want Michigan to prosper whatsoever. There's a hoity-toity school. I don't know if you've ever been to Ann Arbor, but there's a lot of there are a lot of people that you'd find out on the coast, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So as opposed to East Lansing, so. Maybe they're happy that Ohio State doesn't get in, but I know that they're not rooting for Michigan in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess that's a good
I think it's
point.
one of those things, like, you can live with Ohio State having another big year. You're used to it, but Michigan finally breaking through as a Michigan State fan, or even vice versa, you're like, I don't want them to also break through, right?
Well, the one thing for me where it's a little bit different is if it were to go that way, and Michigan, let's say, gets into the playoff because they beat Ohio State or whatever, but Michigan State doesn't get in, but Michigan State can say, well, we beat them.
Yeah.
I guess that's the kicker for me.
Yeah, no, that they'd definitely be rubbing that in their faces the entire time, which is very true. And a lot of the athletic message boards is all about that. But they definitely hold that over them. That if that was their one loss, or outside of losing to Georgia in the semifinals or whatever, they definitely hold that over them for at least the next year. And Mel Tucker stays and whatnot. So.
Hey, did you go to Eastern Michigan before or after Wright State?
So I initially got my scholarship to Eastern Michigan. I didn't see any playing time at Eastern Michigan. Then I transferred to Wright State. My brother was on the team at Wright State at the time. So I went to EMU for 2 years, and then in 2005 I transferred to Wright State.
Do you kind of still pull for them in football? Did you watch that Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan game the other night?
Definitely over Central and Western Michigan I do, but not really.
Yeah.
Eastern's not really a big football school whatsoever. Their only really big person to ever come out of Eastern Michigan was that backup quarterback for the Steelers for such a long time. I forget the dude's name, but
Charlie Whiteside or Charlie?
Yep, Charlie Batch.
Oh,
Yeah,
Charlie Batch.
He went to Eastern.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, I forgot about that dude. That's a good call right there, Tyler.
I was thinking Cordell Stewart.
Yeah, Cordell Stewart days, Hines Ward.
He went to Colorado, though, Cordell Stewart.
Yeah.
I think he was there for their national championship run in the early 90s or something like that.
They had 5
fifth
downs.
down against Missouri.
But-
Then he was in a park in Pittsburgh.
The field wasn't green, and the field wasn't gray back when we were running suicides on it up and down the stadium stairs.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Is like, what's going on with that field over there? But that was a for a Tuesday night or Wednesday night game or whatever. It was a pretty interesting game to have on the TV.
Is it something in the water?
No, we were lead free, so it's all right.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
But no, Eastern Michigan's quarterback was a transfer from Cincinnati. So that's the only real thing I know about Eastern this year.
Well, speaking about so what's going on with your Bearcats? How big do they need to beat SMU by?
I hope we keep them under 20 points, and I hope we win by at least 4 touchdowns. But,
4?
I hope. I mean, I can't really tell what's going on. All the games that we've struggled against, we've been ahead of all those people by at least 17 or 24, and somehow managed to let them come back in it. I will say that USF's quarterback is very good. You're going to be hearing about him next year. Terry McLaren, he was a Mr. Football or something. And he went to Seminole High. I'm not sure if that's which side of the state that is, but Terry McLaren, he's going to be very good. But
I want to say Seminole High is from down there where I was in kind of like St. Pete area.
Yeah, I think they said like near Sarasota, but I know that that's kind of in that area. But I know that was the first time that they'd ever gone undefeated and won a state championship. He was the quarterback, and they're like one of their better wide receivers was the guy he was throwing to. So, but I mean, our defense is supposed to be what makes us, and we gave up 7 points in the first half, and then we give up 21 points in the second half. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect on any of it. Ritter's looking better. I hope Jerome Ford's back. They actually got some decent running out of their running backs last game by committee, but I don't know what to expect because the last month hasn't been great. Ever since we rolled UCF, everything else after that's been kind of like up and down, and I've been it's been very, very nerve-wracking.
It seems like they play up or down to their competition.
Well, that's the thing is like everyone says like, oh, you don't want to play on the road in the SEC. I was like, those players would much rather play in front of 100,000 people than 17,000 people. I mean, you might think that, they're not going to be able to hear each other, but just from an adrenaline standpoint, I'd much rather play in front of a huge crowd than nobody. And then, Caveman Rick, you're making a good point about how, like, Navy, cut blocks and all that stuff, but then it doesn't help the fact that Notre Dame goes out and rolls them the next week 34-3.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like our cornerback's going to be covering wide receivers. They don't want to be getting cut blocked by those wide receivers. So, it's just it's a weird predicament to be in, but, like, we've won and we're still winning, and at the end of the day, I don't care what any of y'all think. I'm just kidding. It's just
all you can do is win, right? And then let everything else
all
take
we
care
can
of
do
itself.
is win, and then if enough other teams lose, then we get in, So it's always going to be like that. And even if we were blowing out these teams by 30 or 40, everyone would be saying our schedule's weak. So, it's just going to be what it is.
You really can't win for losing. I mean, they were talking about strength of record and strength of schedule and stuff like that, and you were seeing, Alabama's kind of up there, Georgia's up there, and Ohio State really doesn't have a quality win. But if you talk to the fans about it, it's like Ohio State's got the best record and schedule out there. Like, well, with a loss.
Yeah. Ohio State's offense has definitely been looking the most dominant. Georgia's defense has been looking the most dominant. But, you just take into account that, I think Florida's schedule is the hardest. They had to play Alabama and Georgia. Georgia doesn't have to play Georgia. Bama doesn't have to play Bama.
It's a point. I can't say that it's a great point because of how many losses that they've had. I mean, their schedule was definitely daunting, but that doesn't give them the excuse to have a losing record at this point.
No. I mean, you can say, I'm happy being a Cincy fan and, and everything. So, but, I'll just change gears real quick. I'm the only one who's saying this, but if somehow Pete Carroll gets fired by Seattle, I think that Miami should look for Pete Carroll because I think that L.A. and Miami are about the same, like when it comes to, just big city and you're all fighting for top spot. I'm not saying Pete Carroll's going to get fired.
I'm the oldest coach in the NFL, right? Does he even want to take on a new gig like that? I mean,
it would take a long time in Miami. That's probably a 6 or 7 year rebuild over there.
Not with the transfer.
The only thing is Miami. If you're able to close off the city of Miami, which Jimmy Johnson was able to, Schnellenberger was able to, you have 5 stars. You have more 5 stars in Miami than pretty much any other city.
But you have to get them to want to come. And I mean that
field's far away. Carroll's the kind of personality and name that could do that. And I think, it's just I just don't know if he's got it in him now.
He's still got that spark though to kind of connect with the youth. But I'm just wondering about how many NFL coaches would really want to go deal with the NIL and all of that good stuff when they're already dealing with prima donnas. In a sense, I'm not saying all NFL players are, but
he's
they
got
already
that
deal with that.
Experience from USC that would make him more likely than like a Mike Tomlin or somebody like that, right? His name was connected with USC and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a really interesting point. I'd kind of like to see it, honestly, now that you're talking about it.
Yeah.
Not something I would have thought about, but.
I'm hearing Lane Kiffin, but I mean, that's, how many jobs is he going to chase? Honestly,
I mean,
how many jobs is he going to continue to chase?
Maybe he's one of those people that just, after a little while, it's like, hey, on to the next one, as long as I'm getting that paycheck coming behind it.
No, Lane Kiffin wants one more job, and it's Alabama. That's the job that he wants.
I don't know about that.
That's the job that he wants. That's the job he wants, and he's going to stay there, and he's going to build. He's going to do his best to build Ole Miss to a point that when Saban finally retires and at some point has a health issue, whatever.
You think that's going to be Alabama's first hire?
I would say if there's anybody in sports arrogant enough to do it, I think it would be Lane Kiffin.
Exactly.
Who else wants to be the guy to follow Saban?
That's
exactly why I'm saying
he may be the only guy in sports arrogant enough to want to pull that off.
Because he's the only guy that's got an ego big enough to walk in behind Nick
say
Saban.
Kirby Smart wins this year. Would he want to go back there?
No.
No,
I think Kirby
Smart's a Georgia boy. He was from South Georgia. His wife played basketball there. They're home.
Yeah,
Kirby Smart's there for 30 years if they want him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to the NFL. He's not going anywhere else. He'll have a lifetime contract in Athens.
If Sark gets 4 wins in the SEC with Texas, I mean, he's doing bigger things than he did in the Big 12. So
I think a sneaky hire for Alabama if he stays is Bill O'Brien. Offensive coordinator.
Really?
If Saban, if he's still there when Saban retires, I could see.
I don't think he will be.
He won't be there.
I think he's no one's talking about Dabo whatsoever.
That would be an idiot.
Dabo's not going back to Alabama.
Fool to follow Saban. He's already built his legacy at Clemson. Why would you want to put yourself in that spot?
It's easier to win in the ACC anyway.
Oh, it is. Yeah. But why would you want to go from being, the Saban of your school
the Saban of your school to be a guy who gets ran out of town in 3 years?
Football right now, but now you'd be at best the third coach.
But that could be the same thing for Lane. Ego or not, you're following Nick Saban. You know what I mean?
He wants to.
Okay. Hey.
I think he wants to. I think he loved working for Nick.
Yeah.
He loved getting his butt chewed. And I think that
it was like working for his daddy.
Yeah, to a certain extent. And I think that that's the gig he would like to go back to.
You think Lane would ever find a lane back into the NFL?
No.
Yeah, I don't think he's done in the NFL.
You don't think he's done?
No, I think he's done.
Okay.
I think he likes connection with the younger kids a little bit better.
I do too.
I think he really does. I mean, you say what you want about the guy. He does seem to be a guy who cares about the team and cares. Him and Matt Corral seem to have a really great relationship. And I'm not saying you can't have that in the NFL, but I think when you're mentoring a younger kid, it's a little bit easier.
Well, you have full control in college, where in the NFL, you're working under a GM, there's an owner and other people.
And you're dealing with grown men as opposed to 18, 19-year-old.
That's a great
kids.
point, too. Hey, Wright State Chris, we got to get off the line for a break, bud.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great weekend.
Hey, you do
too,
the
bud.
same, man. You do the same. We got one more segment coming up. When we get, we'll give you the highlight on what's going on in the local high school football world, and then we'll get into some NFL games. We'll be out for the weekend. You're listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. We'll be right back.
My weather forecast overnight, partly to mostly clear skies, 45 to 52, light east winds. Saturday and Sunday looking pretty good. Low to mid-70s during the day, mostly sunny skies, a few scattered clouds. East-northeast wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday night, partly cloudy in the mid to upper 50s. Have a great and safe weekend. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida. More you.
Auburn football heads to Columbia to go head-to-head with the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Intercepted by Jalen Simpson.
It really comes down to it's just a game of inches. You got to find the little things that are going to make the biggest difference.
Saturday with kickoff at 6 Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hear that? That's the plumpest, juiciest hot dogs you've ever seen getting their grill on. But we both know what'll make it sound even better. Oh yeah, it's a Pepsi to go with your hot dog. Because when you're chomping on America's favorite meal, relish, mustard, and onions perfectly blending into a crescendo of flavor, there's only one thing that makes everything about that moment better. A cold, refreshing Pepsi. See what I mean? It's like music to my ears. Hot dogs. Better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Are you ready for some football? So are the folks at That Boot Store. They have the latest in Western outfits, along with brand names like Wolverine, Timberland Pro, and many others, including Ariat and Old Western for kids. That Boot Store loves the Noles, the Gators, the Tigers, the Bulldogs, and Joe's favorite, Roll Tide. That Boot Store, your team's favorite Western shop, next to Billboard Key on 15th Street. Open Tuesday to Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5:30. Remember what Joe always said, keep Jesus in your heart every day.
The #1 SEC call-in show is now twice as big. It's double the Paul Feinbaum Show. Weeknights starting at 6.
Okay, but also go faster.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs inside the Slim Chicken Studio. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Slim Chicken Studio. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. This is 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Got some great local high school football tonight. Y'all get out to Pineapple Willie's this weekend at 2 for the celebration of life for Mr. Pine. Certified Gearhead Motorsports does a great job in their home of the $30 synthetic oil change. Blue Sky Car Wash is where you go after you get your oil changed to look like you've got a brand new whip. We've got some great games here in the football world. West Florida, Baker County. Nice and Niceville. Florida High visits Walton. Gadsden County on the road taking on Bowles. St. John Paul II is taking on Trinity Christian. Madison County visiting Port St. Joe. Liberty County and Bluntstown will be a knock 'em out, drag 'em out style match. Northview and Baker will be a great game. Riverside and Pine Forest at 7:30 tonight. At 7:30 tonight at Tommy Oliver. Lincoln at Mosley, man. If you're on the road and you ain't got nothing to do tonight, get to Tommy Oliver and support the Mosley Dolphins tonight. Holmes County takes on Chipley, and Baldwin takes on South Walton in South Walton tonight at 7:30. That's a great lineup of games tonight here for the Panhandle Florida High School football games.
South Walton's actually got a UGA commit playing for him, Pierce Sperlin.
Do they?
Big time tight end. He's got put up some just crazy numbers, like 16 touchdowns. I mean, just absolutely dominating kids out there. So I've been meaning to get over there and watch a game of his to see what he's bringing to Athens.
There you go, man. Hey, South Walton to Athens. That's huge. What game is sticking out most to you on the NFL slate this week?
It's got to be Chiefs Cowboys, right? I mean, I know Cooper's on the list, but last week the Chiefs kind of looked like the Chiefs, right? The team that everybody was afraid they could still be. That offensive line, they've got one of the highest rated rookie centers in the last 10 years, and the kid out of Houston, Humphrey, I think it's Creed Humphrey, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what is Dak and company going to do? They had that bad loss to Denver a couple weeks ago. Are they back to where they were? I mean, I think that's got the most potential to be the most exciting game out there, right? I mean, it's
Who do we trust more in that game, Dak Prescott or Patty Mahomes?
I want to say Patty, but I mean the entire Kansas City team has had troubles with the turnover. They haven't been able to hold on the ball, interceptions, fumbles, everything, small things like that. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. It's like the second you do, he makes you regret it, kind of like last week. And I'm on the road in KC. I was actually in Arrowhead earlier this football season for the Chargers game. They ended up losing, but it was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take. I think Kansas City.
Kansas City
Patty Mahomes.
and Patty Mahomes.
Feed off the crowd.
Where you at, old school?
The game that I'm looking forward to the most.
Let's stick with the biggest game of the week, more than likely the Cowboys and
Cowboys and
Chiefs.
KC. I think KC being at home makes a huge difference. Arrowhead Stadium, win a big game. It'll be cold. I think that they get it done. I think Dallas will challenge them. I think Mahomes is going to be. He's going to have to play extraordinarily well to beat them. But I think that Kansas City will get it done this
Trust
week.
more Dak or Pat?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, man, where you at?
I'm thinking this is a must-win for the Chiefs. And thinking, actually, I mean, everybody's probably going to say, Dallas has been doing pretty well this year, but this could be a get-right game for them because they're going to need to get right, the Chiefs are. Mm-hmm. As far as who I trust more, I definitely trust Patrick Mahomes. He's done a lot more than Dak Prescott. Stayed healthier and hasn't got hurt.
I'm very interested in the Indy and Buffalo game.
All right. I think I like the Cowboys in this game, but I trust Patrick Mahomes more. All right, so let's get to the Colts and the Bills. That's a big-time game.
Yeah, I think this is a huge game. Buffalo had been so impressive all year long, and then whatever happened in Jacksonville happened. I don't know if it was the Jacksonville flu.
It was the Josh Allen vortex.
Yeah, the Josh Allen vortex.
I don't know what happened there. I think Indy is really getting better, and I think this is going to be a really good matchup. We'll see if Buffalo's for real, or we'll see if Indy is for real.
What do you think about that game, Tyler?
Ooh, it's in Buffalo. If it's going to be cold,
I'm hoping it's
in.
Frigid.
But I mean, that kind of plays into what Indianapolis likes to do, though.
Jonathan
Pound the
Taylor.
ball with Jonathan Taylor. Get Carson Wentz on some rollouts, hit the occasional shot to Pittman over the top. I mean, that Buffalo defense was playing so. I mean, they're still playing well. They, even though they lost, they held the Jags to 9 points. It was a 6-9 game or something crazy like that. I mean, one of those things, Buffalo at home, I don't know how well Indianapolis plays in the elements. I mean, I know they're kind of built for it, but still, when you don't play in it all the time.
Carson Wentz bones ain't built for it.
But he's got that Philly experience, though. I mean, it's
that's a good
North
point.
Dakota State. It's not it's not his first rodeo.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo will win it. It could be a little. I think they may end up covering the 7, though. I think it may end up being a sloppy, ugly, tight game if that weather starts becoming a factor.
I think North Dakota State plays inside in a dome, but anyway, yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that game, I picked
practice.
Bills definitely. I don't got that much faith in the Colts still. I got to see a little bit more out of them.
I think the Colts are one of the hottest teams in football right now. I don't know if they'll win this game because Buffalo's kind of got back on that resurgence, but I think that they will keep it within 7 points for sure.
Well, I think that Indiana has one of the hottest offenses. I'm not sure about their defense.
Their defense has gotten better since Kwity Paye has been the last few weeks, Darius Leonard.
But I still think that Buffalo offense, if it's clicking, it tests anybody. So,
and they're due for a big game. Buffalo is.
Right. All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Afternoon Underdogs. Paul Feinbaum will be coming up next. Don't forget to submit nominations for Feeding the Families for the holidays. You can send your nomination to 850-215-6290 or ESPN Panama City at Gmail. Get out to Tommy Oliver. Help Mosley take down Lincoln. That should be a great game. And y'all pray for me because I take on Tyler Bishop in fantasy football this weekend. And if I lose, I will be eating waffles more than likely.
ESPN Northwest Colorado.
Saturday on college football on ESPN Radio. The Texas Longhorns head to